Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships or at work, not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And a special offer to ImmaLetYouFinish listeners, you can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/ImmaLetYou, ImmaLetYou. That's betterhelp.com/ImmaLetYou, ImmaLetYou. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
We did it, Joe. We did it. We did it, Joe. We're here for one more show. See, you don't know that reference? How do you not know that reference?
No, I don't. What is it?
You don't remember Kamala Harris on the phone with Joe Biden after they won?
Yeah.
She said,
wait a minute.
We did it, Joe.
Wait a minute. Hold on for a second. Refresh my memory. Who's Kamala Harris?
She's that lady that I think people keep saying is a vice president.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. I wasn't sure who she was. Okay,
well,
cool.
Unlike Jesus and Mero, we're back. It's show number 110 of I'ma Let You Finish. I'm so pissed about that. It's show 110 of I'ma Let You Finish on the Pantheon Podcast Network. Like, what the fuck is wrong with them? Right as you guys are, the rumbling of at the moment where it's really all that gestation is the thing. It's like, now you can't work together.
Some people are, really. Hello, Martin and Lewis. Just keep it together.
Too many things. Oh my God. Look who it is. We just started. So, fun fact, we have a guest today, everybody. It is the
I'm sorry, not a guest, a member of the family.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Hello.
Right.
Listen, okay, here's the thing. I'm sweating because I have to close the window.
I'm sweating like a fucking crackhead.
It's motherfucking Vikki Tobak, the author of Contact High, a book you should all have by now, but if you don't, go get it. You should. And the new Ice Cold, which is the history of hip-hop jewelry. It's the book you need. It's the Christmas present that needs to be under the tree for people. It's the moment. We're going to get into all of it. Vikki!
Why limit it to Christmas? Oh my God. There are a million holidays in December.
But we digress. Hi, family.
Hi.
Hi, OGs. I love you guys so much.
We love you.
Ditto.
This is going to be fun. I'm a little shook at all my dirty secrets that you guys know because you've known me for so long.
No, it's all right.
But here we go.
I'm just grateful to have another biological white woman on the show for a change. I can't take it. I can't carry the weight anymore, Vikki. I can't carry the weight.
I was born in Kazakhstan, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Then there's that. So I have 5 seats, Miss Lady. Okay. All right. So let's get started. So
I'm Asiatic.
Right.
Yeah, nice try. To the east, my brother. To the east.
All right. So Vikki, because I've never asked you these questions, so I want to get all the way into it. When you started the Instagram page for Contact High, what was your plans for that? What did you envision? Was it just, I want to compile these, like you've been around for so much. So was it that you knew about this work, you knew a lot of the photographers and the artists? What was your thought process?
Yeah, exactly. I knew a lot of the photographers. I knew a lot of the artists. I was at many of the shoots, when I was working in the music business. And, through the years, I had become a reporter and a journalist, and I also had become a huge photo nerd. And I was really loving, the history of photography and the processes, not just hip hop, but like across the board. And, there's a book called Magnum Contact Sheets, which takes like iconic photos and shows their contact sheets. And I was like, oh my God, like hip hop needs something like this because it's also such a good way to story tell.
Right.
So at that point, I didn't envision it as a book yet. I just, wanted to kind of like start putting it out there. I was just kind of starting back on my, writing career too at that time. I had worked for, television and CNN for many years. And so I started the Instagram, and then I also reached out, to Mass Appeal and, asked them if they wanted to have this as a column. And then eventually my plan was to turn it into a book once I saw how popular the Instagram got. So I wish I could say it was more intentional, but it was a little bit like
a series of happy accidents, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. And then it became intentional.
Right. Because then you decided to also have a companion piece, which went around to a lot of the art shows and to galleries around the world, really showing these photographs. So how did that come about?
That too was a happy accident. I mean, there's a great organization and team out of Brooklyn that called Photoville.
Oh yeah.
I know Photoville. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Photoville. And so that team that does that are, kind of friends from the photo community. And I had done a small pop-up with them for Contact High. They do this annual thing in Dumbo, and I had done a little installation with them. And the folks from Annenberg Space for Photography in LA had seen it and said, our 10th anniversary is coming up next year in LA. We should make Contact High the exhibit for that 10-year anniversary. So I worked with them to kind of turn the book and this sort of pop-up thing, and also thank you to, Photoville for kind of being the connective tissue. And we opened it as an exhibit in LA in 2019, about 6 months after the book came out. And that was a new muscle for me because, I had curated things here and there, but to sort of bring a book to life into an exhibition was like definitely a different animal, but it was incredible. And then, then we brought it to New York, had a blowout opening there, and then went COVID.
Well, it's funny you say went COVID because I took my class. I think I hit you up. I think I was texting you. I brought one of my classes to the exhibit. So this is like the Wednesday before the world shuts down. And I've got and this is when they're just like hand sanitizer. The cure for everything is hand sanitizer. And we're walking around, and of course, they're ooh, ah, ooh, ah. And the video of the great day in hip hop is there. And one of them goes, "Miss Linden, is that you?" And I said, "I've been trying to tell you that I actually am somebody of worth for the last fucking year." But that was the last time we were in the free world because, we left there and then 2 days later. So what a great way to say goodbye to freedom and good health, to be surrounded by those amazing photographs. It was a great exhibit.
And then the book is a success and the exhibit is a success. Right. So you say to yourself, okay.
I'm not going to talk to Courtney and Amy anymore because I'm too good for that.
You're like, I have the bug for this. Like your writers, your energy is back. And what made you say, okay, this is a lane for me? And how was it working with so many different photographers? Because I know in just clearing photos I've had for one or two artists, just dealing with something sometimes can be really, tricky. And now you're talking about a book. Oh, and there's also an exhibition. So how did you find that the first time they were going to go into Ice Cold?
Ooh, well, so I'm glad you framed it in that way, because a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, that must have been amazing working with all those photographers." I'm like, "Oh,
no. Yeah. Imagine getting clearance from 100 people.
Listen, I mean, we've all worked in hip hop, right? So like, it's the same thing. People are like, "Oh my God, was that just amazing to be in the room with,
it's amazing.
Beyonce and ODB? Like, was it just, you're like, dude."
Yeah.
You're like, I was the one off camera pulling my hair out that you did not see.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So it's like, it's herding cats. I mean, every photographer is their own world. I mean, and as it should be, they've done great work, but anytime you're dealing with creatives, with, all their different views on the world, you're also kind of answering for anyone and everyone that's ever screwed them over, and, kind of like coming with all that baggage, and also just the dynamics and the, economics and politics of like bookmaking and exhibition making that a lot of times people don't understand. So the expectations are a little different. So it was really tough,
Right.
It was really tough. I mean, of course, some photographers, are a dream. Jeanette Beckman, I'll just shout her out, and
Her work's amazing,
amongst others. But it was definitely pushing the rock uphill, getting all the clearances, getting all the rights, and balancing all of that. But the nice thing is, I think in the end, both with Contact High and now with Ice Cold, and Ice Cold, we have the jewelers to add to the mix. I think everyone felt at the end like they were part of this community.
Right.
They were part of something that, whether it was the late 80s or even the younger photographers, that they were part of this really beautiful continuum of like documenting the culture, and that being part of a group book or a group exhibition, I think it really brought everyone together, and so that was a really beautiful thing. In the end, people realized, like, put their egos aside and were like, "Oh yeah, I contributed to this thing that's bigger than me."
And hip hop is a community. It really is a community. That's what people don't realize. The same people, like your students seeing you and being surprised, Amy, to know that written about all of these guys. You've written their liner notes. You've been there. You know what I mean? It's like they don't understand. There is it's a big industry, but a small group of people really in hip hop in that community. And they, it's through the thick and thin, they usually come together when it counts.
I was going to say, Vikki, just jumping on the point we were talking about people with community, and in terms of, I think for people of a certain age, of which I certainly am, it's such a relief sometimes to see somebody want to do something that you can hold in your hand, as opposed to an NFT or the metaverse or Instagram or something like, at the end of the day, the validity really does come when there's a physical hard copy in your hand. It really does, So I think even for a younger artist or a younger photographer, but I think that there is a validation of going, we don't want to turn this into a TikTok. We want to fucking have something that you can give to somebody. And I really think that really, there's a literal heft to Contact High and Ice Cold in the literal weight of the books, but there's also like, that's now there. It's not going to disappear in the ethos someplace. It's literally there,
Yeah, look, this thing is bigger than all of us, and we want to create something that will outlast us. I mean, look, my mom was a librarian. So
my mom too.
I love books.
My mom
see?
Yay!
All right. Look at that. Look at that. All the things we have in common. We're white women. We have moms that were librarians. No.
We're moms, period.
Oh my gosh. And so I like to think of things that I do like how they'll be viewed when I'm not even here anymore, or like, I mean, somebody picking up this book in 20, 30, 40 years, it'll be a truth, that I think like you said, like this community has sort of left. And it's been really cool too. A lot of photographers, especially with Ice Cold, were like pretty much just on Instagram, especially the younger ones. I had to like bring them in because they had certain photos of like A$AP Rocky or Young Thug that like, was not shot on film. Like it was on Instagram. And it's really cool to see them holding the book in their hands and, kind of all those dots connecting.
Because they've never seen themselves like that. They've seen
Right.
it all. It's been all digital, which is why, I know, Andre, like Andre's my boy. I love that Andre shoots on film. You know what I mean? And he shot on film from the beginning. And
Andre
I told him,
Wagner. Oh my God. Shout out Photo Dre on Instagram.
Andre D. Wagner, yes. Who currently, he shot this current cover of Rolling Stone with Steph Curry in those pictures. Steph Curry, that is him. But he shoots on film still, and he uses Leicas and Hasselblads, and he has digital, but he really shoots on film. It's an expensive art form. I get why a lot of people don't do it anymore. But to me, it is beautiful to be able to pick it up. Like I have a print of his on my wall. It's like I have great digital photos, but I love having a great print that I can frame and have on the wall.
It's like listening to vinyl, right?
Yeah.
Hearing the cracks in the vinyl and it's the same. See, Prince.
I sold all my vinyl. I'm a horrible.
All right, so then you decide, let me do this again. Let me do it again because why not?
Why not?
And you decide to focus on jewelry, which is really brilliant because
no pun intended.
But if you think about most people in hip hop, right, especially from back in the day, or even a lot of pop stars, what's the first thing you do? You see that people want? They want jewelry. You know what I mean? Everybody wants diamonds. And it's such a big part of hip hop culture. What made you decide to focus on that?
So, well, two things. Like one, when I was having done Contact High, you zero in on all the little details in the photos and you see what people are wearing, literally on their bodies in the photos, from the Jordans to the Dapper Dan jackets, right onto the jewelry, right? That's like a visual representation of the music and the culture and all of it. I also had remembered, from back in the day, working the clubs, working at Nell's, just moving about, right, in that ecosystem that we were part of. People who wore jewelry, like, first of all, everyone, yes, wanted the jewelry and the artist, but also, you would see people and, you would know, oh, that person can wear that in the club. Mm-hmm. They have an air of protection again, on them. Like they are somebody, you may have not known who they were, but like you knew. So it was, in New York, right? New York, the street is the runway. And oftentimes, literally what people wear on their bodies or present to the world is a form of communication. And so I knew that both from, living it in back in the day, also then, kind of analyzing the photographs that were in Contact High. And then also, there was a film being made, Ice Cold, which is sort of like a sister film to the book, by the team from Quality Control out of Atlanta and director Carm Gill. And we had connected and I was like, oh, that's actually a great idea. So we kind of started like doing those two things parallel. I mean, the film's been out for a while. It's on the Migos channel on YouTube, but all those things kind of came together and was like, yeah, this book is...
I've actually seen that. I've actually seen the Ice Cold on the Migos.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the book is a little different, just because of the format, and we were able to get so much more into the book. I mean, they're limited by time,
right?
So we kind of slowed down a little bit and really went into the history of it and unpacked it, on a bit more of a, exhaustive level.
Vic, I wanted to ask you a question because it's something I mean, I was joking around about the white woman thing, but I sort of am and I'm sort of not, because I know, and obviously hip hop has always been a scene and a business and that has incorporated everybody. I mean, the influences, it has never been a monolithic scene. But I know that when I didn't start off writing about hip hop. I started writing off about punk rock. There was no rap music really when I started writing.
Yeah, well, we read all your cover articles for Spin, and
and thank you. And then I resisted writing about hip hop in a lot of ways because I thought, I love the music, but I'm not a scene. I always had a bit of an imposter syndrome in a lot of ways, and I'm wondering about how. Did you ever have that? Did you feel did you ever wonder, am I welcome here in some ways? Or did you embrace your outsider status?
Yeah, so that's a deep question, and I'll try to answer it kind of quickly, but I'm a little bit of a different use case, if you will. My family immigrated here from Kazakhstan, like I jokingly said in the beginning. And we landed right in Detroit of the 1980s. I didn't speak English. My parents didn't speak English. We did not have American, lineage or heritage. We didn't know any of the pop culture references. I didn't watch Star Wars, like none of that. What I was sort of born and bred on, one was, being an outsider, and Black culture through Detroit. Black music. I mean, you would turn on the radio. It was Anita Baker, Stevie Wonder. I would sneak out to go to clubs. It was early house. I grew up with all the pioneers of house music culture and was going there at, 15 before I could even drive. You would turn on after school television. We had a television show called The Scene, which was like our version of Video Music Box. And so to me, that was what America was.
Okay.
And so I had a very kind of Eastern European home life with my mom speaking, a different language. And then my learning of what America was predominantly Black culture, because of Detroit, because of where we were. So I guess, and that's not to say like I felt like, a Black person. It's just that
you came by it honestly.
It was the
environment. That
I was sort of this third lane, right? Like and my, I tell this story a little bit in Ice Cold, even like my mom, we used to have this mall near us. It was kind of the equivalent of like Albee Square Mall or, some things like that. And she went there when I was young, and she came back. We had like a little gold shop, and she bought me this little Nefertiti pendant. Yeah. And I don't know that she even knew that it was like a symbol of sort of like Black culture. Mm-hmm. I mean, she knew that Nefertiti was Egyptian, obviously, but just little the way that we sort of operated. And so for me, it was very intentional to come to New York. I mean, I started, like, as soon as I heard hip hop, which was in high school, which was coincidentally through the punk kids at my high school, who had a little bootleg tape of Public Enemy. But I was like, I need to move to New York and be part of that, and I also was really drawn to the club culture that was happening in New York at the time, because really, that was where all this stuff was happening. I mean, the clubs and performances and all that. It was so connected to club culture. Yes. So I was just being pulled to New York for that reason. And I didn't feel like an insider, but I was also really used to being an outsider my whole life, because it wasn't uncomfortable for me.
Right.
It just was.
Yeah, I mean, there is always a perspective. There's a reason why the Brits have done R&B in a lot of ways better than we do, because there's an outsider, and I'm not saying outsider in that you didn't come by it naturally.
They don't do R&B better than we do.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, Courtney's about to come for you.
No, they do not do R&B better. They do a good imitation of it,
All right.
You know what I mean? Because, when they come with a soulful voice and everybody gives them all this moment, but they do not do R&B better than we do.
But I will, so just to extend the point a little bit, I will say this. Like, in Detroit growing up, right, the Black kids in my school showed me so much love when I was there, like not speaking English. They were like, come over here and sit with us, Whereas the white kids, this is still like, it was, Russia was the bad guy. Soviet Union was the bad guy. And they were like, you're weird. You don't speak English. You're from the Soviet Union. Like, you're a spy. And it was similar, like, in early hip hop too. They were like, you love this? You're down? Like, come on. Welcome. It was a lot of love. Like, it was, It
was sort of always my experience. And again, I'm not even pretending to be that I was instrumental in a culture, but I got more resistance from, not all, but like white writers in a lot of ways, than I did from a lot of Black writers. Not that it was across the board, but I understand what you're saying. I mean, there is this sense of like, if you want to be my friend, I want to be your friend too. And I respect you for respecting me, And I think that sometimes when it's all new to you, you're not coming in with any preconceptions, and that's great. That's
well, also great. Back then, hip hop, writing about that was not the plum jobs. That was not the plum gigs, working like Courtney, working in the Black music department at a major label was not the place to be.
Or listen, and this is the interesting part of that, because when I first started at Columbia, I was in the Black music department. I worked with Tony Anderson, who was the head of Black music. So I saw all of the budgets. I saw what the budgets were for the artists. And then Tony left, and I moved over where I really made my name at Columbia into video promotion, which was part of the pop department. And then I got to see those budgets. And I was like, new artist. You guys are saying you really love this one, but the numbers were really different a lot of the times. I don't know if that's still the same today. Probably in some ways, who knows? It could be. But yeah, you really saw how, especially with hip hop back then, it's almost like a subgenre.
It totally was.
The way it was treated, except for Nas, right? Because Nas, I remember always, especially even from Illmatic, there was something about him and the way the whole department clicked into one with the Nas project, because he just came with, he was a critic's favorite. And the music, especially that time, those records, they just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And the Fugees, like, they seem to have a real plan because they kind of crossed over. And then, you have some other ones who you thought were going to be bigger, and you see the difference in how they're treated. But it was definitely, it's funny that we're talking about this because now hip hop is so big at every label. Hip hop is pop music. It's like the predominant moment that everybody's trying to make sure that they have a bunch of hip hop.
Protected. It is like where you want to be. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and even, back in the day, the writing assignments, right? If you like, oh my God, to get a hip hop thing in like Rolling Stone or Spin, that was the dream.
Well, I have to defend because my very first hip hop article was in Spin, and it was John Leland, who was on this stuff very early on.
Yeah.
But to get what you guys were saying about the Black music department, I remember you'd come up to like Polygram. She said dating herself, calling it Polygram. Mm-hmm. And it's like, where's so-and-so? Where's Beverly Page? I'm going to her office. And you'd literally take this, like you'd walk 10 blocks and then make a left and then make a right. And there's the coffee machine. And it's like, oh, look, it's the Black music department. Literally at the back of the building.
My first music industry thing was an internship at Polygram, and I interned for Sincere. What was Sincere?
Oh, I remember.
Yeah. That was my first thing ever at friggin' Polygram. And that seems like 20 million. All of that's like, and it is so funny because that was kind of the time when the majors were signing. Because I remember back then we had X-Clan. I believe X-Clan was
to the east, to my brother, to the east. Wasn't there that big scandal that he had a white girlfriend and a white baby? Wasn't that the big drama with him?
Don't be starting rumors, Amy.
No, I think he's dead, so it's okay.
Okay, so she's like, I can start this one. He's not here.
He's dead.
Speaking of X-Clan, they are an ice cold with the bead movement.
Yeah, that was. Hey, I want to ask you, Vikki, about working with one of my all-time favorite groups ever, and that's Gangstar.
I
mean, if I could have someone choreograph me walking down the street, it would be Premier. I would like to have Premier as I walk playing beats behind me. Because I feel like everything would just be better. You know?
Yes. I mean, Gangstar, that group, I mean, that was the group really that I worked with the most deeply, you know, because we managed them. And when I went to work Payday Records, Empire Management, they were the big group that we had at the time. They were our, you know, bread and butter. Premier was producing for a whole bunch of, you know, groups, but yeah, they were our stars. And they were recording Hard to Earn. And it was, I mean, both Guru and Premier, you know, Guru, rest in peace, are two of the most like intelligent, talented, you know, people that I've ever had the honor to work with. What is that?
My Gangstar Metro card. Remember this?
Oh my God.
Oh wow.
That's rare. That is rare.
The moment of truth Metro card.
Yeah. Well, that album was right after. I worked with them on the album right before that, Hard to Earn.
Shout out to D&D Studios, man.
That's right. I spent a lot of time, a lot of days and nights up in D&D. But look, the Gangstar, Guru and Premier, that whole Gangstar Foundation and family, you know, Suge out of Boston and like all their Dap and, you know, Malachi and like Fat Gary and the whole family are A+ people.
A+.
And, you know, and Guru left us way too young, but he was brilliant, you know, and people a lot of times, you know, I always get asked like, oh my God, what was it like being a woman in hip hop? Like it must've been so disrespectful and this and that. And like that crew showed me so much love, so much respect. Like it was great.
People always have these weird fantasies about what shit is. I'm like, I've had very few disrespectful moments, and it's not usually with artists. You know what I mean? It's like when you're in a camp.
No, it's not the artist; it's the manager.
And what people don't realize is when you're working and it's a camp, we're working like nobody's there. It's not what people think. It's work. It's a lot of work. I want to come back to Ice Cold for a minute because I want to know about the process. Right? What was the jumping off point? Who was the first artist you were like, I'm starting here. This is my jumping off point for this.
So, I mean, I just through, you know, acquired knowledge through the years in my mind knew that there were certain artists, you know, Biggie with the Jesus pieces. And there were certain artists, right? Rakim, Slick Rick, LL Cool J, that were just known, you know, for their jewelry. So I just started with this broad, like, who are the artists that need to be in this book? What are the key pieces, like Biggie's Jesus piece, all the label chains, right? The Rock Nation chain, the Rock chain, and then the Rough Riders chain and the Death Row pendant, you know, with that, a whole thing. So I kind of started there, like broad strokes of like, who are the artists? What are the pieces? And also like, what is the big story here, right? I mean, even before hip hop, the artists were looking to street culture, right? To looking to the drug dealers and the hustlers and like the guys that were moving heavy in the street for how they looked. And so I wanted to make sure that, you know, we also kind of started the story there, because that's what it is. And then trace it right on down to today where, you know, anything goes and it's, really, really a whole different level today.
Anybody that you want that said no?
No, I mean, I got pretty much all of the pieces that are important and that, I wanted in there. I'm trying to think. I mean, even Beyonce, thanks to, you, Courtney, and, and Miss Yvette, you guys made that happen.
You're the only person I've done that for. I want you to know, a million people hit me up all the time. Can you introduce, but I was like, it's Vikki. Yes, I will actually make that call.
Yes. And I hope that the result was, everything.
It's gorgeous. The book is gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It really is. It's beautiful.
So no, the only person that, there were a couple people that didn't get back, I'll just be truthful. There was a photo of Doja Cat that we wanted, but it was nowadays you have to go through layers.
5,000 people. It's true.
You have to talk to their stylist and then talk to the and so they, that team just didn't get back to me, which is a bummer because I bet Doja Cat herself would have liked to be in the book.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of the earlier artists, the photographers have full clearances, so you don't need to go through all those extra hoops. But we got pretty much everyone we wanted in the book.
Well, I'd also think that the success of Contact High, if people didn't know who you were, in terms of that, gave you a sort of, people don't think this is seriously legitimate. This is something we need to be a part of, because there can't, in the wrong hands, which you obviously are not, a book focusing on the jewelry of hip hop can almost turn into CB4 or something like that.
100%. Right. A parody of itself.
Right.
It's going to be called bling, bling.
Right. And the chain will be the size of a ranch house and the guy will be a hunchback and not be able to stand up or something.
Yeah. Yeah. No, listen, this is serious stuff, even though it's very seems like conspicuous consumption and very shiny and very glamorous and luxury, but this is serious stuff with layers to it. So
it speaks to the idea that, when people are working their way up, no matter what race or background, the first thing they want to do is let people know that they have the means to, that they're making money. And what better way of showing that than an expensive watch, an expensive piece of jewelry, a flashy car. I mean, this is a form of investment when you're young, right? This is your, buying and trading stocks, except that everyone can see that you've got money when you're wearing it. And that's an important thing. It's very presentational. Hip hop is very performative and very presentational,
Absolutely. Yeah. Show up and show out, right? That's part of the culture. I think that jewelry exactly is a perfect way of doing that. A lot of, people that I interviewed for the book were like, this is a hood trophy. This is, this is a hood trophy that, I earned, and to show it. But, a lot of folks too are getting, a little more, kind of under the radar with it. And you look at watch culture, for example, a lot like Jay, right? He doesn't wear a ton of jewelry now, but his watch game is, on a whole nother level.
That's that Upper East Side kind of money, right? Where they're filthy rich and you never know by looking at them, but they're stinking rich.
Yeah, exactly. And so hip hop is starting to kind of, have that layer as well. And, that speaks to generational wealth and to, really building businesses. A lot of the, folks in hip hop are now, Jay, Nas, all this is now on a different level, and where it touches politics, it touches big money, it touches investment, and which is so great. And I always think of, Nas has this line, actually with a song that he did with Primo. And he says, by the time you can afford it, the car ain't important. He rhymes it better than I do.
Yeah. No, it's true.
And that line just really struck me even before I started doing the book, because I was just like, damn, that's right. we come up just coveting things and wanting them when you don't have them, especially, and then once you are able to, it's like not even important anymore. But it is sort of this concept, right, of the American dream and aspiring and ascending to something greater than where you started.
We're the only country that has 75-inch televisions, I can guarantee you. I don't think, I've tried, we
Have you been to the Emirates?
Yeah. No, I have not. Okay. All right. We're the only country that is not inhabited by oil sheiks. So, no, you are correct. I have not been to the Emirates. All right. But yeah, it's a very American thing. It's all part of we were a country built on achievement. And what better way to show that you have achieved something? I can't tell you how many of students of mine, mainly Black and brown students, ask me if I have a car, and I say no. And they look at me as though I've just told them I worship Satan. It's like, how can you, you made all this money. How can you not have a car? And I'm like, I didn't make all this money. And I don't know how to drive.
You live in Brooklyn, yo.
Yeah, the high-paying world of teaching and hip-hop journalism, as you know.
Just rolling in it.
Rolling in it. What is the plan with this? Is there going to be a la Contact High an accompanying exhibition, or is the film kind of working in tandem with this? What's the next phase of this?
No, we will hopefully, I have some feelers out right now. There's nothing concrete in the mix, but I do have some feelers out to turn it into an exhibit.
Okay.
I think it's a very New York story, especially when you add the jewelers into it. The story of like the Diamond District and Canal Street and in Brooklyn, all the regional jewelers around New York. It's a real New York story. So I would like to turn this into an exhibit that, is starts in New York and really kind of tells that story because, look, most of the jewelers too, and I thought this was a cool, element of the story, is that they are all either immigrants or children of immigrants.
A lot of them are Israeli, right?
A lot of them are from the former Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Jacob the jeweler is from Uzbekistan.
Okay.
Tito Caicedo, he was from Ecuador. Aviani and former Soviet Union, mostly Uzbekistan, Jews from Uzbekistan. Then you have Canal Street, right, which is mostly Asian immigrants.
Right.
On the West Coast, same. You have a lot of Asian immigrants that do like Nipsey Hussle's jewelry, artists from out there. And, I think there's something to that. I think that immigrant hustle is something that they're able to work with the hip hop community because they recognize that in each other.
It's funny you say that about being an immigrant, because my grandfather, who was an immigrant, worked in the Diamond District. That's the job he landed when he came to New York, was working in the Diamond District.
Well, and it's funny because the other day I actually did an interview with Bevy, our girl Bevy Smith, who we love. And hey, Bevy, yes. Hey, Bevy. Bevy was talking about how, whenever she used to go shopping for jewelry, she would first check the gold prices because she knew that, when she got into the Diamond District, they were going to start the hustle of like, well, gold is this, let me weigh it. And she was like, if they thought I didn't know the price, they could just, and it's almost like a little game, right? But like she knew the hustle, they knew the hustle. And so they could game recognize game. And so let's go. That's like a fun story. It's just like, you can't walk into Cartier and do that.
No. Well, that's our collective hustle mentality of people who came here or people who have been striving. This is, and it's barter culture. We grew up with that, right? We grew up in a place where you never pay wholesale, right?
Or you never
retail. You know what I mean?
You never let anyone get over on you.
Never. Never, right? Aren't we the only city in the world where you can ask somebody how much you pay for rent without, like, as if it's like, what day is today? We'll just go, what's your rent? Like, no other world can you ask somebody how much their monthly nut is in terms of their rent. And it's very hilarious to me. It's very hilarious. Court, what do you got?
So the book is out now.
Yeah,
and what's the next one?
Yeah.
Ooh. I do have something in the pipeline. I cannot talk about it, unfortunately, but you'll be the first to know.
Yay.
But it is music related, and it's, with a hip hop celebrity. So,
okay.
It'll right in line with what we do.
MC Scat Cat.
Yeah, exactly. How did you know?
Pia Zadora? Is it Pia?
Okay, it's Lil Dap from Group Home.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding. Okay. But we love Dap.
Superstar. And I will now sing my rendition of the one Group Home song I know.
And on that note, Vikki, thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh my God, you guys are a blast.
I also haven't seen. So I haven't seen you in 2 years. So hello, love you.
Hello, and we need to do it in person.
We can do that now.
I had the honor of seeing Courtney in real life this past weekend, which was a grace and a sight to behold.
It was so amazing to look at the book. He
was so happy. He was just texting me going, "It's gorgeous."
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
It really is. It's gorgeous.
And we should mention that it's on Taschen. It's published by Taschen. Am I mispronouncing it?
Yep.
And it's available everywhere, right?
Yep, it's available everywhere.
As is Contact High. They're both out there.
Yeah. Buy it from an independent bookstore while you're at it,
Yeah. No, that's real. Yeah, for sure.
And we'll put all the information on our site.
Yes.
And Vikki, we love you. Really, seriously. It's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. It really is on so many levels, but it's great to see you. And thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, guys. I think our next stop is going to be Dallas Barbecue for some our ragtag crew of friends. Whoever.
Yeah, that was an adventure. That was an adventure.
Who doesn't love jumbo sugar-sized frozen drinks with a shooter? It's like
that was a beautiful moment in history.
Who doesn't love a restaurant where they take your order, walk into the kitchen, and come out with the food?
Yeah,
listen, and the people view like the dates. I just like looking at people on dates at Dallas Barbecue.
Yeah.
It's that is love in its purest form.
Listen.
And to see what he's letting her order.
Right.
All the things. It's all the things.
Like, are you ordering from the fucking side? Are you ordering down or ordering up?
Well, listen, if you see the Henny coladas come to the table, you
know
it's on that night.
Okay.
It is on that night. It is on. It's on. And with that, kids, you know the deal. Thank you for listening. We're on the Pantheon Podcast Network. You can find us there with over 70 music shows. You know where we are. We're on Spotify. We're on Deezer. We're on Apple. We're on Google. We're everywhere. And hit us up on Twitter at Finishima. We still fucking hate that name. We're on Facebook at ImmaLetYouFinish, all one word. We're on Instagram at ImmaLetYouFinish NY. We're on TikTok at ImmaLetYouFinish Podcast. We're on Oprah, because why not just add her? Because she just fucking finds her way into everything that nobody wants her in.
I'm on 90 Day Fiancé starting next week.
And I am finishing up my cover album of Yoko Ono songs, which I am almost done recording.
That's it.
And on that, we will see you next week.
Bye. Everybody. Bye, Vic.
It's NFL draft season, and that means it's time to start thinking about fantasy football. FantasyPoints.com features industry-leading experts and prognosticators using proprietary hand-charted data to help you score more fantasy points. FantasyPoints.com is the place to go for whatever kind of fantasy football you play. Whether you play fantasy football, daily fantasy sports, or do a little bit of everything, Fantasy Points has the meticulously researched content to guide you to victory. And why wait for the fall? Fantasy Points also covers the new spring football league, the UFL. Join the guru, John Hansen, Scott Barrett, Joe Dolan, and other massive names in the fantasy football universe with an exclusive offer. Use code Pantheon for 15% off any Fantasy Points package, including the all-in package with access to every article, tool, and data nugget that Fantasy Points has to offer. That's FantasyPoints.com and code Pantheon for 15% off at Fantasy Points. FantasyPoints.com, code Pantheon. Score more fantasy points.